Good morning and happy Monday. I hope it is not a manic Monday for you this morning. My name is Maya, and I'm coming to you from Denver, where it is raining this morning and it's about 45 degrees. We had to move from the air conditioner to the furnace this morning. It's been like doing that for the last several weeks. We like air conditioner, furnace, because we had like 90 degrees several days last week. So it's just, typical May here in Colorado. And I think it's snowing up in the mountains, which is good. We'll keep the snow up in the mountains, rain down here because we definitely needed the moisture. So good to see it. I see some folks, a lot of folks in the chat talking about it's raining there or it's nice and sunny. So hopefully the weather where you are is good for you. And I don't usually do Monday mornings, but Jennifer O is she's traveling. She went to I think a nephew's graduation. So she is out today, but I do have the lovely Jennifer K here with me in the chat. There she is. She's going to give a wave. She's in Germany. She's been in Germany these last few weeks. So she is for work, but she said she did get to do a little sightseeing. Oh, fun. Leanne's going to be in Colorado for a wedding on June 12th. I love it. And Jennifer actually is going to be here in Colorado May and toward the end of May. So we're going to try to get together because we have not actually met in person yet. So, and it's been 5 years since we've been doing that. So interesting. So is this anybody's first time at a social? First time with Silk and Sonder, brand new, maybe first time with a weekly setup? You can just kind of put that in the chat and say you're new. I want to give you a welcome. I know I don't usually see I'm not usually here on Mondays, so I'm assuming this is probably our typical Monday morning crowd, but so glad to see everyone here. Just a couple of quick housekeeping tips. I appreciate, like, I have my little scale of cats. How are you today? I saw some floaty little fluff nuggets there and a few violent voids, right? Maybe it's more of a spaced out orange kitty. Definitely kind of a fun little it's cozy nerdy things on Instagram. She always has fun little on a scale of whatever, how are you feeling? So super fun. Make sure you set that chat to everyone. That little blue box need to make sure it says everyone. Otherwise, it has a really obnoxious tendency to pop back to host and panelist, especially if you're on an iPhone or an iPad. And so just know when that happens, the only people who see what you write are myself and Jennifer, which if you are just wanting to talk to us, that's absolutely fine. But just know if you're wanting to direct it to everyone here in the group, you want to do that. Also, make sure if you, this is your hour, right? You carved out this time to work on your journal. So if you want to some people like to focus on their journal, they're kind of nose in the journal, they're working on that, maybe taking a few screenshots, and they kind of ignore the chat. Absolutely fine. Some people are here because they like to hang out in the chat and chat with their friends, chat with their Sonder fam. They make a few notes, take a few screenshots, and then finish up working in their journal later. Some people do a combo of both. That's why we usually have 3 setups. We do a Saturday, Sunday, and then the Monday morning one, so people can come to as many as they would like. Also, we do have the YouTube recordings. The chat's not there, but the recording is there if you want to carve out that time and you need a little more time to work on it. And honestly, an hour goes by super fast. So don't feel bad if you haven't had a chance to do everything you want to do for the setup. Just know that do what you need to do and plenty of time to get that taken care of. So just a few other community guidelines. Make sure that you're kind and courteous both to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. We limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. It's fine to ask, like what kind of pins don't bleed through the paper, where people are getting their stickers. But honestly, the best place to ask that is in the Sonder app, in our Sonder Club app, because then folks can post pictures and links and all those good things. Any of those customer care inquiries. So if you need to update your billing address or your credit card information, right? You get a new credit card with a new expiration date, you need to update those. All of those go to hello@silkandsonder.com. Jennifer and I do not have access to your account, so we can't fix anything. We can't see anything. We would help you if we could, but we can't. So all those go to hello@silkandsonder.com. And then remember, ultimately, these socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. And we have such a beautiful, supportive, fun, creative community. But remember, ultimately, you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. if there's ever anything that we're working on that just isn't your jam and you want to work on something else, you can absolutely do that, right? We're not going to come knock on your door and tell you what you should do during a Sonder social. If the music I play isn't your jam, you can mute that. If my voice isn't your jam, you can mute me. We have closed captioning enabled. So do what you need to do for you for this hour to get things done. Oh, Lynn, sorry. She says she had to fight her daughter to get her to school today. I know my sister has to deal with that with her daughter. She just does not like school, and every morning is a struggle to get in. And especially now when school it's kind of toward the end, it just gets worse and worse. So hang in there, right? School summer hopefully is on the way. Also, happy birthday to any of our May birthdays out there. If you're a May birthday or a May anniversary, happy birthday, celebrating you in that. So, this month we have been looking at the theme of integrity, which has been very, very interesting to see folks' reaction to the theme. It's always kind of fun to see how people receive the theme. Some people really are embracing it, some people it's a little scratchy. They're not quite sure what this means or how it applies to them. So, I appreciate folks kind of digging in, and it can mean different things to different people at different times. So, I had a few little quotes up there just to kind of give you some food for thought there. So one quote says, integrity is the choice between what's convenient and what's right. And sometimes making those convenient choices is easy, but we need to push a little bit more and do what's right. And then the other one says, integrity is choosing your thoughts and actions based on your values rather than personal gain. And that is definitely another one, right? The convenient and what's right. That's something to kind of think about. And so a lot of folks have been kind of digging into the what are my core values and how are my actions and my thoughts aligned with those core values, and really seeing how that leads into that feeling of integrity. Also, what you do in private always shows in public. Reading shows in your conversation, workout show in your physique, your diet shows in your energy, your discipline shows in your confidence, your focus shows in your results. You are what you cultivate when no one is watching. And I think that's important thing to remember, right? All those little things that you do, they do show up for someone somewhere, right? And really that kind of leads us into integrity. So I appreciate folks kind of taking some time this month to dig into that. And we will start out with our little integrity mind map for our weekly setups. We always do a little mind map where we give you some time to kind of look at that theme and dig in a little bit. Then we'll do our rosebud thorn activities, a little reflecting on the week, and then we'll do those weekly setup pages. And I always like to use these two little cartoons to illustrate a couple of points. First one says there's room for you here just as you are, little pile of kittens there, right? So we're here to celebrate. We're here to, we love hearing about your wins. We love hearing about things that are going well. And we know that life is not always that series of ups, right? Sometimes we have the downs. Sometimes we are sick. We have been ill. I have had this nasty cold and cough for a couple weeks now. It's finally going away, but you can probably hear it in my voice and my coughing, excuse me. So we're here for all of that, right? The good, the bad, life. And so don't feel like you can't share good or bad there in the chat. Also, the way you feel matters, and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. No one can tell us that we should feel happy about this or we shouldn't be mad about this. Our feelings are just our feelings, and we're here for all of it, right? We're here to explore all of that as we move forward with our week. So that integrity mind map, hopefully you've got this already set up because this is going to be week 3. But if you haven't and you haven't had a chance to do the first 2 weeks, do not worry, do not stress. I will show you what the last 2 weeks prompts were. You're welcome to take a screenshot of those and work on those later. You don't have to. You can just start with week 3. A lot of people will just use like that back page on page 60 to make the little quadrant and do each week. This month does have an extra weekend in it. So the last weekend of the month will be a kind of a bonus mind map. So again, you can kind of do that anywhere. And Jennifer's kind of popping in. You can kind of do this. There's lots of different places, and I'll show you where I usually do mine. So this week, week 3, we are looking at the areas of work and ambition. So thinking about careers, thinking about goals, thinking about output. And if you are retired or you are, not employed outside the home, like that's okay. right? This can still apply to you. Maybe it looks like volunteer work, or your work in the community, or how you're working with your family, goals that you have there. So the question is, does the way I work and what I'm building reflect what I actually value, right? So again, we've got that values question, thinking about what that value is, what those values are, those core values. Excuse me. So here's mine on page 25. I use the expense tracker for my mind map. Since I don't track my expenses on paper, I do that electronically. So I put that here. Jennifer's saying she puts her mind map in her Elevate planner, which is great. So a good way to kind of think about this. You can see the other person, this was from April, but they made like these pretty little colored geometric shapes that they're going to write each week's reflection in. So again, kind of use what you need to think about that. Does the way I work and what I'm building reflect what I actually value? So maybe the first thing is listing off some of your core values and then thinking about how you work, what your work looks like, and what those activities do as you move forward. And yes, if the mind map just isn't quite resonating with you, if this question doesn't quite, um, you know, spark any sort of thought, you are welcome to work on anything else in your journal, right? Do whatever you want to do, work on that setup, work on the coloring page. We'll just play just a little bit of music. We'll let you work on this, and then we'll check back in and keep moving on. right. Thank you for sharing in the chat some really deep thinking. And sometimes I'm like, oh, it's so early in the morning to have such a deep question and to be thinking about that. So I appreciate folks who are really taking some time to kind of dig into that. Again, really thinking about identifying those values that you have and what that looks like in your actions. And I saw a couple people talking about how it's hard when the folks that you work with don't necessarily share the same values or exhibit that same integrity that you feel like you are exhibiting, and how hard that can be to be in that situation. Or sometimes it's the work you do doesn't necessarily seem to be aligned with the values, but a job's a job. And so you've kind of got to get things done. So really kind of thinking about what does that mean for you? What can you do to kind of fill your cup in other ways or to address some of those values to feel that sense of integrity? Saw some other folks talking about wanting to, there's maybe some things that they wanted to do in their community, but they've kind of let those slide a little bit, or they haven't really been working on it as much as they want to. So they're going to take this week to really come up with some things to address and some ways to move forward in that. So I definitely appreciate that. So again, thank you all so much for reflecting there in the chat. I think this is it's a good question, but it's a hard question. And integrity is a very meaty theme for this month. I will tell you, I won't spoil it for next month, but next month I think is going to be a little more fun. We've had some pretty intense themes so far this year, and I think next month is you might feel a little more fun, a little more light. So looking forward to doing that. So let's move on to our rosebud thorn, and you can find this on page 44 in your journal. We like to spend just a few minutes reflecting on what happened this last week. It's really good to take that pause and think about, what did I do last week? If you're like me, you're constantly rushing from one thing to another, don't really take that time to think about kind of what happened. And so this is a great opportunity to do that. I like to start with the thorn. I like to start with the not so good and then go to the good, right? So the thorn is something that's been challenging, something that maybe is stressful, something you could use a little support with right now, maybe things that are out of your control. So for me, the challenge has been this cold and this cough for the last couple of weeks. But I will say I have been being very good about trying not to push through, trying to give myself time to rest and recover. Rest has not been easy because with the cough, it's hard to lay down. So I've had to like sleep in my chair for several nights. And I'm very happy. The last several nights, I was actually able to sleep in the bed. So that made me happy. But yeah, it definitely has been a challenge. And then our bud is something that we're looking forward to right now. Maybe something gives us hope, some motivation, some inspiration, something that we're excited about. And so for the last several weeks and probably continuing on, we'll be planning for our trip to Spain in August. We're going to go for the eclipse. And so we're super excited to be going over there. We're taking our 25-year-old nephew who has never been out of the country for his first international trip. So super excited about that, trying to find fun things that we can do with him that he will enjoy so he has a good first experience. And then our rose is something that's a highlight, something that's positive, something that's making us happy, something that we're just really grateful for right now. So this is a picture of my little 19-year-old kitty. She had to have 5 of her teeth removed about 3 weeks ago, and it was rough. She was having a rough time, but she is much better now. She is very happy. She's over on the chair sleeping now, supervising me. Definitely that has been my rose. So feel free to share rose, bud, or thorn in the chat. And we'll play just a little bit of music and then we'll keep moving on. All right. Thanks again for sharing those roses, buds, and thorns in the chat. I do see lots of folks are dealing with different illnesses, that nasty cold that's kind of going around. Hugs to you, Marie, for your first chemo treatment. I hope that goes well. I bet you are feeling very wiped out. Please take time to rest and recover and let your body do what it needs to do. I had some folks, we've got some graduations going on. We've got lots of folks happy for end of school year. I know there's lots of folks in education right now that are we're anxiously awaiting the end of the school year. Got some vacations coming up that are buds. So thanks again for just taking those few moments to reflect. And this is also a really good page to go back to when you do your monthly setup to do the month in review, kind of that page where you're reflecting on the month. You can go back to these rosebuds and thorns to help remind you of kind of what went on during that month. So again, thanks everyone for sharing there in the chat. So let's dive into our weekly planner, page 46 and 47. And I thought this was a perfect little meme for us right here in Colorado. I just realized why this month is called May. It may rain, it may snow, it may be 70 or 90 degrees, or it may be 20 degrees, right? So kind of dealing with all the different changes in the weather. And then I also put this little picture in one of our fellow Sonder fan members, Corey. She had posted this in Sonder Club. This was her little glimmer. She got some fun little solar lights, little kind of twinkle lights to put in her flower pots in the backyard. And they are so, so cute. I just thought that was really fun and reminded me I need to put some more twinkle lights out in our backyard because the ones I had put up back during COVID have died. So I need to put up some new twinkle lights out there because those are kind of fun, right? Twinkle lights are fun, especially in the spring and summer. So the first thing we're going to tackle is this week I want to feel, right? So how do we want to feel for the week? I always think of this as how do I want to show up for myself and for other people throughout the week. I've got a whole list of different feelings that you could pick from: grounded, open, inspired, included, optimistic, strong, curious, supported, creative, harmonious, right? Lots of different words there that you could potentially use. Here's some examples of some things that folks have done for their feeling. It could be just one word. It could be a more or less. You can see that one. They want to feel more rested and energized, less scattered and exhausted. Maybe it's a phrase. Maybe it's a mantra or an affirmation. Maybe there's a sticker that kind of encompasses how you want to feel. Rachel wants to feel free. Sonia wants to feel calm, cool, and collected. Maybe it's a quote. Maybe it's last week's word. Last week's word worked really well. I want to bring it forward. Doesn't have to change every week if you don't want it to. Maybe you have a word of the year that you like to use. And yes, this weekend, this coming weekend is Memorial Day weekend. It's super early. It's the earliest it can be this year. And so it's kind of weird because there's still another weekend after Memorial Day. So I feel like it's super early, but I'll take it. I'll take the extra day. I like there's the one she used, the CALM acronym. So she wants to feel centered, accomplished, alive, and mindful. So I think that's kind of a fun way. We've got loved, peaceful, positive, happy, all of those different kinds of different words, different feelings. And then I like to tie this in with the weekly major 3 goals, because I think sometimes if we can set these goals up well, they will lead to us feeling the feeling that we want to have, right? Oh, Chris, that's great. She's using a sticker this week that says, allow your mind to blossom. I thought this picture was very apropos of me, this little meme where it's me and then you fall in the hole of time spent looking at memes. But I feel like I do that for you. I feel like I have to find fun memes for the Sonder fam, right? But then your life goals are kind of over there on the other side, or your tasks or your to-dos, right? So we'll try not to fall down the rabbit hole of looking for fun memes and pictures. So we've got we could maybe use our April intentions. If you haven't had a chance to look back at those intentions you set at the beginning of the month, now is a perfect time to go back to page 9, remind yourself what those intentions were, might help you with some setting those goals. Maybe you want to look at that monthly habit tracker, see how that's been working for you. That can help with the goals. Maybe you want to set your goals through that lens of integrity. Maybe you want to do some no goals, like no alcohol, no doom scrolling, no more than a certain number of minutes spent on social media, no impulse spending, no takeout meals. Maybe you want to look at your previous week or your journals and see if there's any outstanding goals that you need to bring forward. Oh, you're welcome, Beth Ann. I'm happy to make the sacrifice finding the fun memes for you. Um, Maybe you want to frame your goals around a single personal challenge, like a fitness challenge or a cleaning and decluttering challenge, new recipe challenge, self care. And then I know this poem is a little bit blurry, but I need to find a sharper image of it. But it's such a nice poem because it talks about the way you bloom. You don't have to bloom on cue or chase the sun to prove what's true. Some flowers open late, not wrong. They've simply waited all along. The world may rush, the winds may spin, but growth begins from deep within. A quiet seed, a patient start, and still you bloom with fullest heart. No need for noise, no need for show, just light and time and room to grow. And I thought that is such a great reminder, right? We don't have to compare ourselves or how we're blooming to maybe how other people are blooming or how other people are doing. We're in our own time. We're not wrong. Just like I always tell people, there's no wrong way to set up your journal. There's no wrong way to come to a social. It's just what you need for yourself right now. Maybe you want to look at the little bucket list. Maybe one of your goals is to do some fun things from like a May bucket list. So this has some fun things like spend a day off social media, try a new cafe, buy yourself a little treat. Maybe you want to remind yourself that a dream written down with a date becomes a goal broken down into steps becomes and a plan backed by action becomes reality. This person kind of broke their goals into categories of home, work, health, mind, and body. So I think that's a good way to do that. The other thing I want to remind you is you don't have to have three goals. Maybe you have one goal, one thing that you want to focus on. And then I am always so amused by song lyrics and how people kind of mishear things. So there's the, it's going to be me, but it sounds like it's going to be May. And then there's the pour some sugar on me, but it sounds like pour some sugar on May. And so I also like this one, just so typically May, a little Britney Spears lyrics there. And then one person, they have a frog, a fun, and a fierce goal. So their frog goal, they're going to do some books, shorts, budget, shoes, fun, paint and read, fierce, something outside my comfort zone. Maybe you want to focus on something like breathe, move, and notice. One person, they want to feel a fresh perspective on my past and a renewed hope for my future. So they have a nice little quote about perspective and a nice little quote about hope. So lots of different ways. You can see some different ways folks have use this. Also, maybe you do monthly goals, so the weekly goals aren't quite appropriate. So maybe you just want to write down some favorite quotes, some podcasts, movies, or TV shows that you want to watch. Maybe it's a new read, some new books you want to read. Maybe it's some fun things to do in May, some songs. Maybe it's exploring 3 topics you want to know more about, 3 new recipes, maybe doing a mini bingo board. We do love a good bingo here in Silk and Sonder. So I will play some music and let you work on that. Let us know what you're going to do with this goals section and also maybe what you're going to do with the feeling section, what feeling you want to have. I know lots of you have already popped that into the chat, and we'll check back and keep moving on. All right, we got Courtney doing some chair dancing there, a little dance break to Brittany. Love that. Always good to get a little movement in. You can dance in your chair there. So thank you all for sharing there in the chat those goals, those the feelings that you want to feel. And again, like I said, sometimes just one goal is kind of all I can focus on for the week, and then that's absolutely fine, right? So I know a lot of folks are kind of some of the goals are reducing time on social media. I'll be honest, I enjoy scrolling in Instagram, and I've kind of curated my feed to be very positive things and very nice things. But boy, I can catch myself on there. It's like 30 minutes later, an hour later, and I think I probably could have used that hour a little more productively for my brain as opposed to scrolling. So when I don't, there was a couple weeks where did not use social media at all, and my brain actually did feel a lot better. So unfortunately, so it's kind of trying to find that balance there. So again, thank you all for sharing there in the chat. Yeah, Jennifer's saying that's how she felt. I don't even miss it anymore. Yeah, your brain just gets so used to seeing that. And it's not, I've read a lot of studies that say it's not actually restful. People are like, oh, I'm going to take a little break and I'll scroll through social media. But while your body might be resting, your brain is still ingesting all of that information and it's still moving. So it's not actually a restful thing. So got to find that balance there. So let's talk about our to-dos there. And you can see I found a fun little thing about taking care of yourself and those that you love, doing things like getting enough sleep, engaging in some hobbies, some time in nature, some nourishing meals, authentic relationships, regular routines, exercise, gratitude journaling. So one thing a lot of folks do that they really is really helpful for them is they use the Eisenhower matrix. So the idea behind this is you have one big master to-do list, and then you take each one of those tasks and you put them in this matrix. And Jennifer is popping in a link that gives you a little bit more information about this. I find this is really helpful at the beginning of the month too, when I have like this whole, here's all the things I want to do this month. And then I see like, okay, what's important and urgent? I need to do it now. Maybe it's important, but it's not urgent. I need to just kind of schedule a time to do that. Maybe it's not important, but it is urgent. Can I delegate that to someone else? And if it's not important and it's not urgent, maybe I just need to delete that thing, or maybe I need to donate, or I need to delay or defer, right? So, kind of thinking about what does that look like, and you can see like some little examples of some things that you have on your to-do list, how you can kind of fit those into that Eisenhower matrix. Um, one person used fun little stickers in their to-dos to remind themselves of some different things. I like the person who just said step by step, they're gonna step by step get some things done. They don't have a specific to-do list. A bingo, right? Again, a fun little bingo board is always a fun way to gamify your to-do list. I like the don't do this instead. It's always good when we're trying to break a habit to give ourselves something else in place of it so it doesn't feel like a void of I used to always do this, but now I don't know what to do with myself. They talk about this a lot if you're a smoker, um, to give yourself something else to do, because a lot of times a cigarette signals like a break or after dinner or those kinds of things. So, what will you do instead of? So, you can see she says spend mindless time scrolling. So, instead, she's going to do something creative, right? Or instead of procrastinating, she's going to set a timer and see how much she can get done. So, lots of great ideas there. Maybe you want to break your to dos into work and home list of things that you want to get done. Maybe you need some spring energy givers, some things to give you some energy, like savor seasonal foods. Lots of fruit is coming into season. I got some apricots yesterday. They're not quite ripe, but they were quite tasty. So I'm hoping that they will hurry up and ripen so I can eat more of them. Maybe it's going for a morning walk. We have a lot of folks that do our unofficial pen pal, writing letters back and forth to each other. So they made a fun little flower. You've got mail to keep track of who they get mail from and who they're sending mail to. So I thought that was kind of a fun little way to use that page. And then I'm also going to talk about the habits and activities, or habities, the new word that I made up when I was talking too fast one time. So those there at the bottom, they're a little bit different from our habit wheel, that are things we want to do every single day this month. The habities, the habits and activities, are things that are usually are very specific to the week. And we probably maybe only want to do them a few times that week, probably not all 7 days. There's just a few days we want to do them. So folks really liked this little graphic that I had found about reframing the I did nothing today. So instead of saying I did nothing, you could say things like I took a mental health day, I lived in the moment, I slept in, right? Really think about reframing that like I didn't get anything done today. Well, maybe you did these things. Maybe you prioritized yourself. Maybe you chose rest. Here's some examples of things that folks have done in that area. You see one person instead, they kind of covered over the habit and they put yay activity. So social media break, quiet personal time, took a walk, did something creative. Um, and then the one up in the top, they have night walk with audiobooks. So they did what James Clear in his book Atomic Habits talks about habit stacking. So doing one thing and then kind of putting something on top of that. So she's going to get her walk in and she's also going to listen to her audiobook, which by the way, audiobooks do count as reading. I will die on that hill. Absolutely, your audiobooks are going to count. So that is a good way to get that reading in. We've got some folks that are they want to do the daily ritual 5 times this week, track some macros, 20 minutes outside, meditate. Sewing, got a couple people that are wanting to do some sewing. So kind of putting those hobbies in there, making sure that those get done. Lots of good examples. And then, excuse me, I also have, we have the Silk and Sonder May calendar for the integrity ideas. So today, what is today? The 18th journal. Where are you ignoring your own needs right now? So kind of a fun little way that comes from our Silk and Sonder Instagram account. And then also the Ambitiously Alexa, she always has fun things. So this is the May Whimsy Challenge. So today is today's the 18th, right? Yeah, cute lunchtime picnic. So I will probably not do a picnic today because it is raining outside, but it is a cute idea. So I'm going to be quiet again, play some music, let you work on those to-dos and those habits and activities, and then we'll check in and we'll keep moving on. All right. Again, thank you for sharing in the chat the ideas that you have for those to-dos and those habits and activities. And I'll be honest, some people will not do one of those, right? They'll just fill that area with stickers. They're like, oh, I'm not going to do the habits and activities this week. I'm just going to kind of fill it in with stickers. Absolutely can do that. Again, you take what you need from this, what works for you from this. And sometimes the habits and activities are kind of a fun way to maybe try out a habit that you think you might want to make a habit, but you're not sure what that's going to feel like. You're not sure if it's going to stick. You're not sure what it's going to mean for other things, right? So a lot of times with our time, we have to figure out if we're going to do this, then we're not going to be able to do this. So what does that look like? So love kind of spending some time having a place to kind of experiment. The other thing that's really nice about these weekly pages is we'll get another week, right, in 7 days. So try something new in some of these areas, see what that looks like. And if it doesn't work for you this week, then don't do it again, right? And you can always change it up during the week. So don't think that you're stuck like, oh, I said I was going to do these things and now it's not really fitting into my day. The other thing I like to recommend is if you're going to, like, there's some things like you want to make a list of here's what I want to do in a perfect world, right? If everything lines up, the universe is working, folks are doing what I need them to do. Here's I'm going to go to the gym 3 times. I'm going to eat 5 servings of vegetables 5 days a week, those kinds of things. And then you also want to make a column for real life, right? Real things happen. And I know, I think Leanne is on here, and I think I've seen her do that before, where she's kind of like, well, here's what I want to have happen, and here's my reality, right? And so sometimes giving yourself a like, okay, if things don't happen like I want them to, if people aren't being cooperative, if I have those unexpected things happen, what can I do that's kind of a bare minimum? So maybe instead of going to the gym 3 times a week, it's actually a walk for 5 minutes 3 times this week. Those kinds of giving yourself kind of the option, because we really like to do the black and white thinking, right? Like, oh, it's all or nothing. Either I do all these things or I don't do any of them, right? And that is not really going to work very well. So kind of thinking about giving yourself some grace, figuring out how to work that. So we're going to go over to the B side now, over to the next page. One of our other facilitators, Katie, likes to call this the B side, kind of the B side of our record, where we've got some different areas that we can talk about there. I'm going to talk about all of them and let you kind of work on them as needed, because I think this is probably the more heavily repurposed section. So we've got our meal plan, where obviously you can plan your meals. Maybe you want to plan some new recipes. Maybe you just want to plan dinner. Whoever would have thought as adults the question of what are we going to have for dinner would be such an obnoxious question, like every single day. So maybe you want to be able to do some planning there, but you can see lots of different ways to use this section. Maybe you want to use it as an exercise tracker or a cleaning plan. Maybe there's the National Day of list that you can always find. Every day is a national day of something. So maybe you want to do that. Maybe it's a dream tracker, a packing list. If you're going to go on a trip, definitely helps me from overpacking when I plan out what I want to wear for each day. Maybe it's a hooray list, right? Celebrating some good things, even if they're small things. A symptom tracker. Some people like to track what they're eating, and then if they have any symptoms, so like folks who have migraines or maybe some tummy troubles, kind of keeping track of what they've had to see if there's any sort of relationship between those. Here's some other examples. A fun little doodle, little moment of Zen doodle. A daily affirmation, my week in reading, some make it happen cleaning tasks. I have a little book lovers self-care list of fun things that, you can do, good things for our book lovers. Yeah, the doodle sheet is super fun. I am not quite so artistic, so I don't know that my doodles would be quite so cute, but it's always fun to try, right? And then for our mind body health plan, again, usually these are things that are good for our mind and our body. My husband gave me this little meme here that says, my patience is like a gift card. Not sure how much is left on it, but we can give it a try, to kind of remind me for our, there's a gal that's on our HOA board that is a little challenging. So I kind of feel like, yeah, my patience is like a gift card with her. I'm not sure how much is left on it, but we'll give it a try. So maybe you want to do some screen-free hobbies, and there's some examples, some ideas for things if you have low energy versus medium energy versus high energy, right? Different kinds of things to do there. What I'm loving today, kind of keeping track of something that was great for that day. Simple ways to turn around a bad day. Some different ideas of things you can do there. Again, our bingo, right? We've got a girls just want to have fun bingo. We've got the fun little keep it fun, and then different ideas for ways to keep it fun, like reading a new book or dancing, taking a hike, limit your time scrolling, those kinds of things. I really like the Slow Simple Seasonal. They have an Instagram and Facebook and a website. They always have a monthly nature calendar. So, like today's activity is choose one flower and observe it at different times of the day, morning, noon, and evening. That's kind of fun to see what those look like. You could even take a little picture or do a little drawing, a little sketch there. Fun little nature things. Then our shopping list. Glimmer bingo. Love those glimmers, right? The glimmers are the opposite of a trigger. These are little things that happen that make you smile. A doodle a day in May. Another fun idea. If you like the doodle idea, but you're like, I don't know what to draw. Here's some just fun little ideas, very simple, very basic little things you can get into the groove of doodling. Maybe you want to remind yourself like no unnecessary spending. Maybe it's a packing list. Maybe it's that they have stay out of the dollar store, no junky snacks. Maybe it's a chores list. I really appreciate the person who said this week I completed. They were going to use this for what they completed. And then they wrote in there, started so much, finished so little, right? That happens. That's life. And then that last little box is just there for you for I am loving. What are you loving? What are you enjoying right now? Sometimes it's fun to fill out the beginning of the week. Sometimes it's kind of a midweek thing to remind yourself I am super happy the hummingbirds are back here in Colorado. We have one at my work office that is making a little nest on the tree right outside my window. So that's been super cute watching her. Um, I should have taken, I was loving making this hat for my mom, but now I've run out of yarn and I don't really want to buy another thing of yarn to finish this. So I'm trying to decide if I should just do something different with it. And then I'm loving, my husband and I started watching the Pit series on HBO. We've just finished season one, starting season two. So that's been interesting and fun to watch, right? So always like to find a good series. So let us know in the chat what you're doing with any of these little sections. Again, like I said, these are great ways to repurpose, do different things, save different things in here. And if you can't really think of anything to do with the section, fill it up with some stickers, right? Those stickers love to be stuck. So I'm going to play just a little bit of music, let you work on that, and then we'll come back together and wrap things up. Oh, right. Well, thank you all so much for spending time with us. I know I can't believe the hour is up. It always goes by so quickly. But I really appreciate everyone sharing in the chat. I love Janine saying she's been multitasking. So I think that is a good plan sometimes to do that when we're here in these socials. Hopefully you're feeling good about setting up that planner. Please feel free to share if you're comfortable pages from your weekly planner in Sonder Club. You can see all these examples we got are from our fabulous Sonder fam. They are all HI, not AI, right? HI, human intelligence, right? So love to see those examples and see what folks are doing. It's always fun to get an idea, and you never know who you might inspire. So we love seeing that. Jennifer's also popping some links in the chat for the YouTube channel so that you can, if you want to go and watch rewatch a social. Again, remember the chat's not there, but everything else is there. Also, we are still doing the Sonder Coach. You can take a quick spin for free if you haven't had a chance to do that yet, or and you're not signed up for Sonder Coach. You can kind of take that for a spin and see how that works. Kind of fun to do. And hope you join us on another social with lots of different things coming up within the week as we roll into the middle of May. So hopefully you're feeling all good about getting everything all set up and ready for your week. So thank you all again for joining us. We hope to see you at another social soon.